All right. Um, let's do some more reading, huh? I feel like I probably won't read too long. Yeah, I feel like I won't read that long. Just a little bit. Going back. Okay. 5 months later, December 2013. In the lobby of the Languages and Literature building, she sits down to check her email. She doesn't remove her overcoat because she'll be getting up in a minute. Beside her on the desk is her breakfast, which she just purchased from the supermarket across the street. 1 black coffee with brown sugar, 1 lemon pastry roll. She eats this exact breakfast regularly. Lately, she has started to eat it slowly in lavish, sugary mouthfuls that congeal around her teeth. The more slowly she eats, the more consideration she gives to the composition of her food, the less hungry she feels. She won't eat again until 8 or 9 in the evening. She has 2 emails, one from Connell and one from Joanna. She dabs her mouse back and forth between them and selects Joanna's. No real news from here, as usual. I've recently taken to staying home at night and watching my way through 9-part documentary series about the American Civil War. I have a lot of new information about various Civil War generals to share with you next time you're on Skype. How are you? How's Lucas? Did he take those photos yet, or is that today? And big question, can I see them when you're done, or is that prurient? I await your word, XX. Marianne lifts the lemon pastry, takes a large, slow bite, and lets it dissolve in layers on her tongue. She chews, swallows, then lifts the coffee cup. 1 mouthful of coffee, she replaces the cup and opens Connell's message. I don't know what you mean by your last sentence there exactly. Do you mean just because we're far away from each other, or because we've actually changed as people? I do feel like a pretty different person now than I was, but maybe I don't seem that different. I don't know. By the way, I looked at your friend Lucas up on Facebook. He's what you would call a Scandinavian looking. Sadly, Sweden did not qualify for the World Cup this time. So, if you end up with a Swedish boyfriend, I'll have to think of another way to bond with him. Not I'm saying this guy's Lucas is going to be your boyfriend or would want to talk to me about football if he was, although it's something I'm putting out as a possibility. I know you like the tall, handsome guys, as you say, so why not Lucas, who looks tall and is also very handsome? Helen has seen his photo and agrees. But whatever, I'm not pushing the boyfriend thing. I just hope you have confirmed he's not a psychopath. You don't always have a good radar on that. Uh, Unrelatedly, we are getting a taxi through Phoenix Park last night and we saw a lot of deer. Deer are kind of strange looking creatures. In the night, they have this ghostly appearance in their eyes and can reflect headlights in the olive green or silver color, like a special effect. They pause to observe our taxi before moving on. To me, it's weird when animals pause because they seem so intelligent, but maybe that's because I associate pausing with thought. Deer are elegant, anyways, I have to say. If you were an animal yourself, you could do worse than be a deer. They have those thoughtful faces and a nice sleek bodies, but they also kind of startle off in unpredictable ways. They didn't remind me of you at the time, but in retrospect, I see the similarity there. I hope you're not offended by the comparison. I would tell you about the party prior to us getting the taxi, though, through Phoenix Park, but it was honestly boring and not as good as the deer. No one was there who you would know that well. Your last email was really good. Thank you. I look forward to hearing you as always. Marianne checks the time, the top right corner of the screen, 9:49. She navigates back to Joanna's message and hits reply. He's taking the photos today. I'm actually heading over there now. Of course, I will send them to you, and when they are finished, and I expect long, flattering commentary on each individual photograph. I'm excited to hear what you've learned about U.S. Civil War. All I've learned here is how to say no thank you and really no. Talk soon. XX. Marianne closes her laptop, eats another 2 bites of the pastry, and folds the rest of it up in a grease-proof wrap. She slips her laptop into her satchel and removes her soft felt beret, which she puts down over her ears. The pastry she disposes of in a nearby bin. Outside, it's still snowing. The exterior world looks like an old TV screen, badly turned. Visual note breaks the landscape into soft fragments. Marianne buries her hands in her pockets. Flakes of snow fall on her face and dissolve there. A cold flake alights on her top lip, and she feels for it with her tongue. Head down against the cold, she is on her way to Lucas's studio. Lucas's hair is so blonde that an individual strand looks white. She finds them on her clothing sometimes finer than thread. He dresses all black, black shirt, black zip-up, hoodies, black boots with thick black rubber soles. He's an artist. The first time they met, Marion told him that she was a writer. It was a lie. Now she avoids talking to him about it. Lucas lives near the station. She takes her hand from her pocket, blows on her fingers, and presses the buzzer. He answers in English. Who is it? It's Marianne, she says. Oh, you're early, says Lucas. Come on in. Why does he say you're early? Marianne thinks as she climbs the stairs. The connection was fuzzy, but she seemed to say it with a smile. Was he pointing it out to make her appear too eager? But she finds she doesn't care how eager she appears because there's no secret eagerness to be discovered in her. She could be here ascending the staircase to Lucas's studio, or she could be in the campus library or in a dorm making herself coffee. For weeks now, she has had this feeling, the feeling of moving around inside a protective film, floating like mercury. The outside world touches against her skin, but not the other part of herself inside. So for Lucas's reason for saying you're early, she finds it doesn't matter to her. Upstairs, he's setting up. Marianne removes her hat and shakes it. Lucas looks up from his tripod. Lucas looks up and then back at the tripod. Are getting used to the weather, he says. She hangs her hat on the back of the door and shrugs. She begins to take off her coat. In Sweden, we have a saying, he says, there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothes. Marianne hangs her coat beside her hat. What's wrong with my clothes? She said mildly. Oh, it's just an expression, says Luca. She honestly can't tell now if he meant to criticize her clothes or not. She's wearing a gray lab swole sweater and a thick black shirt with knee-high boots. Lucas has bad manners, which, to Marianne, makes him seem more childish. He never offers her coffee or tea when she arrives, or even a glass of water. He starts talking right away about whatever he had been reading or whatever he'd been doing since her last visit. He doesn't seem to crave her input, and sometimes her responses confuse or distort him, which he claims is an effect of bad English. In fact, his comprehension is very good. Anyway, today is different. She removes her boots and leaves them by the door. There's a mattress in the corner of the studio where Lucas sleeps. The window is very tall and run almost to the floor, with blinds and thin trailing curtains. Various unrelated items are dotted around the rooms, several large potted plants, stacks of atlases, a bicycle wheel. This array impressed Marianne initially, but Lucas later explained he had gathered the items intentionally for a shoot, which made them seem artificial to her. Everything is an effect with you, Marianne told him once. He took this as a compliment about his art. He does have immaculate taste. He's sensitive to the most minuscule of aesthetic failures. In painting and cinema and even novels or television shows. Sometimes when Marianne mentions a film she has recently watched, he waves his hand and says, it fails for me. The quality of discernment she has realized does not make Lucas a good boy, a good person. He has managed to nurture a fine artistic sensitivity without ever developing any real sense of right or wrong. The fact that this is even possible unsettles Marianne and makes art seem pointless suddenly. She and Lucas have had an agreement for weeks now. Lucas calls it a game. Like any game, there are some rules. Marianne is not allowed to talk or make eye contact while the game is going on. If she breaks the rules, she gets punished later on. The game doesn't end when the sex is finished. The game ends when she gets in the shower. Sometimes after sex, Lucas takes a long time before he He lets her get in the shower, just talking to her. He tells her bad things about herself. It's hard to know whether Marianne likes to hear those things. She desires to hear them, but she's conscious by now of being able to desire in some sense what she does not want. The quality of gratification is thin and hard, arriving too quickly and then leaving her sick and shivery. You're worthless, Lucas likes to tell her. You're nothing, and she feels like nothing, an absence to be forcibly filled in. It isn't like it isn't that she likes the feeling, but it relieves her somehow. Then the shower and the game is over. She experiences depression so deep it is tranquilizing. She eats whatever her body tells her to eat. She experiences no more ownership over her own body than if it were a piece of litter. Can we go back? Since she's arrived here in Sweden, but particularly since the beginning of the game, people have seemed to like her paper shapes. Not what? People have seemed to like her colored paper shapes, not real at all. At times, a person will make eye contact with Marianne, a bus conductor, or someone looking for change, and she'll be shocked briefly into the realization that this is in fact her life, that she is actually visible to other people. This feeling opens her to certain longings, hunger and thirst, a desire to speak Swedish, a physical desire to swim or dance, but these fade away quickly. In Lund, she's never really hungry, and though she fills a plastic Evian bottle with water every morning, she empties most of it back into the sink late at night. She sits on the corner of the mattress now while Lucas switches a lamp on and off and does something with his camera. I don't know with the light yet, he says. Maybe we can do like first one, then another one. Marianne shrugs. She doesn't speak. She doesn't understand the import of what he's saying. Because all his friends speak Swedish, it has been difficult for her to work out how popular or well regarded Lucas is. People spend time in his studio often and seem to move a lot of artistic equipment up and down its stairs, but they are fans of his work, grateful for his intention, or are they exploiting him for the convenient location of his working space while making fun of him behind his back? Okay, I think we're ready to go, says Lucas. Do you want me to? Maybe just a sweater now. Marianne pulls off her sweater over her head. She places it in her lap, folds it, and puts it on one side. She is wearing a black lace bra with little flowers embroidered on it. Lucas starts doing something with his camera. She doesn't hear from the others much anymore. Peggy, Sophie, Teresa, that crowd. Jimmy wasn't happy about the breakup. Jimmy wasn't happy about the breakup, and he told people he wasn't happy, and people felt sorry for him. Things started to turn against Marianne. She could sense that before she left. At first, it was unsettling. The way eyes turned away from her in a room or conversation stopped short when she entered. The sense of having lost her footing in the social world, of being no longer admired and envied, how quickly it all had slipped away from her. But then she found it was easy to get used to. There's always been something inside of her that men have wanted to dominate, and their desire for domination could look so much like attraction, even love. In school, the boys had tried to break her with cruelty and disregard, and in college, men had tried to do it with sex and popularity, all with the same aim of subjecting some force into her personality. It depressed her to think people were so predictable. Whether she was respected or desired, it didn't make much of a difference in the end. Would every stage of her life continue to reveal itself as the same thing again and again, the same uh, remorseless contest for dominance? With Peggy, it had been hard. I'm your best friend, Peggy kept saying at the time in an increasingly weird voice. She couldn't keep Marianne's laissez-faire attitude to the situation. You realize people are talking about you, Peggy said one night while Marianne was packing. Marianne didn't know how to respond. After a pause, she replied thoughtfully, I don't think I always care about the same things you care about, but I do care about you. Peggy threw her hands in the air wildly, walking around the coffee table twice. I'm your best friend, she said. What am I supposed to do? I don't really know what that question means. I mean, what position does this put me in? Because honestly, I don't really want to take sides. Marianne frowned, zipping her hairbrush into a pocket of her suitcase. You mean you don't want to take my side? She said. Peggy looked at her, breathing hard now from her exertion around the coffee table. Marianne was kneeling by her suitcase still. I don't know if you really understand how people are feeling, Peggy said. People are upset about this, about me breaking up with Jamie, about the whole drama. People are actually getting upset. Peggy looked at her, awaiting a response, and Marianne responded eventually. Okay, Peggy rubbed okay. Peggy rubbed a hand over her face and said, I'll leave you to pack. As she went out the door, she added, You should consider seeing a therapist or something. Marianne didn't understand the suggestion. I should be a therapist because I'm not I should see a therapist because I'm not upset, she thought, but it was hard to dismiss something she had admittedly been hearing all her life from various sources. She was mentally unwell and needed help. Joanne is the only one who has kept in touch. In the evening, they talk on Skype about their coursework, films they've seen, articles Joanna's working on for a student paper. On screen, her face always appears dimly lit against the same backdrop. Low key, I think that's it. Yeah, just gonna stop there. Why not? Just a quick one. Maybe I'll edit the title to 2.5 just because it's a quick one. Yeah, it's late. It's late. Yeah. All right, bye-bye.